Good evening, good afternoon to you all. This is Sri Kumar Swami Mahavidyalaya, Ausa District, Latur, Maharashtra, India, running daily international conferences, and this is started before 4 years. It was conducted with national speakers last 3 4 years, but now in this year we are running this with international invitees, international speakers. In today's international e-conference, we have invited the keynote speaker, Khouloud ma'am, who is from Lebanon, and she will speak on the topic the empty age. She is PhD in English language and literature. She is life coach, major psychology subject, NLP practitioner, CBT and DBT coach, and also a well-known platform YouTuber. We are eager to listen you, ma'am, on this topic. So I request you from my organization, from my participants, you can start your speech on the empty age. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Dr. Betkar, for this introduction. I'm really pleased to be with you. First of all, I thought that this to be an educational platform or space that everybody from all over the world are meeting and discussing educational issues. But then later on, when I started following the channel of Dr. Betkar, I noticed that no, this is a more open space to different topics. Therefore, allow me to mention at the very beginning of my presentation that yes, my presentation is targeting teachers and the relationship between teachers and students and the role of empathy. However, this can be adapted and can be used in any interpersonal relationship that we have. So welcome everyone to Empathy Edge. In this session, I will be exploring the power of empathy in teaching and of course in our lives in general, and how we can unlock the potential of the other if we only practice this natural trait that we are all born with, how to enhance this biological trait that we have. We will delve also into the science behind empathy to understand how our brain functions. And if you like to share some heartwarming anecdotes about you being empathetic in your lives, in your professions, that would be really an added value to my presentation. I may also introduce some strategies, practical strategies that might be really helpful to those of you who are in the educational or teaching field. So get ready, all of you, to engage, to reflect together, and to discover the empathy edge in our teaching or life journey. First of all, I would like to ask you all to drop in the chat box or feel free to open the mic and just share whatever you have on your mind. Do you believe that empathy is more important than sympathy?
Yes, of course, ma'am.
Okay.
Both are the different one.
Sorry?
Yes, we do agree with you.
You agree that empathy is more important than sympathy, right?
Yes.
Can you please tell me why you believe so?
Ma'am, because if we won't able to understand other people, like if we won't be in others' shoes, how we will be able to understand their problem, or how we can get sympathy about someone? In order to get sympathy for XYZ person, first I should realize what are exactly the emotions of that person.
Okay, so there is no difference between empathy and sympathy, Miss?
No, there are different.
Okay, what is the difference?
Sympathy and empathy.
Empathy, I think empathy is a more intense feeling about the others, Sympathy is, we just maybe with the words, but empathy is, you are feeling yourself in that person's place, and you can feel, what suffering he's going with and or what he's having, and then feeling that and then taking care of that person. That is what I feel. That is empathy.
All right, thank you. That's very accurate. That's true. The issue here is that sympathy. It's only when we are feeling sorry for the other person, whoever the person is. You try to just share the state, understand the state of the person, and you feel sorry for them. However, empathy is more in-depth understanding of the person's behavior, of the person's emotions, of the person's experiences, feelings, and thoughts. It is literally when you imagine yourself in the shoes of the other. And researchers have struggled for so many years to define what empathy is. And they started measuring even empathy since the 1950s till now. Researchers have been trying to measure empathy, and because they did not agree what empathy is. Should it only be feeling sorry for the other? Should it be only hugging the other, understanding the other? When actually many other researchers, they came in the 1970s and they really said this term, that you should be able to place yourself in the shoes of the other. And starting from that era, they started even to look at how our biological or physiological structure can help us enhance our empathy. So when we talk about empathy, it's more of an understanding of an emotion. So what do you think is the link between physiology and emotions? Is there a link between them? I mean, why would we talk about the brain when we're talking about emotions?
Ma'am, here I want to add something.
Yeah.
Like, if I have positive emotions, so the surrounding of mine will be positive. I will act accordingly. Like, for example, if I secured very good marks, then I will dance, I will have a party with my friends, my family. I will feel appreciated. Okay. But if, for example, if I failed in my exam, then my mood will be very bad. So my entire surrounding will be the same, influence according to my emotions, and I will act accordingly.
Okay, thank you. That's true. Do you think that we can enhance this ability that we have, this empathetic ability? Can we work on it? Can we improve it? Or no, this is a fixed structure that we have and we were born with it and we're left with it as is, and you are either empathetic or non-empathetic? Did I make the question clear? So my question to you is, can we enhance, can we improve our empathetic abilities, or no, this is a kind of a inborn ability that we have and it's fixed and there is nothing to do about it in order to grow our empathic abilities? Yeah, Prashant, yes, go ahead. I couldn't hear him.
Just a minute.
Yes, sir. Mr. Prashant, do you have a question or you would like to add a certain idea to whatever we're talking about?
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you are audible, sir.
Yeah. Is it possible that the person who has no sympathize attitude and he is thinking of the empathy? I think sympathy is the origin to having attitude to lead towards the empathy. Is it is such type of correlation is there in the sympathy and empathy? Please elaborate or explain, ma'am. Unless we have the sympathy, can we have the empathy? Because sympathy and empathy.
You mean, sir, that sympathy is like the cornerstone for empathy to grow, to start? This is what you're trying to say?
Pardon, ma'am?
I'm saying that you're trying to say that sympathy is the beginning or the first stage of building empathy. That's what you're trying to say, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. I understand. Thank you so much. So let me first of all tell you that science has proved that sympathy, empathy is a trait in the brain. It's a trait in our brain. And as you can see in the picture here, if we have a look at our brain structure, we can see that there are three major parts that are involved in empathy. The first one is the amygdala. The amygdala is this part of the brain that is responsible for our emotions. However, the hippocampus is the other part of the brain that is responsible for memory. Therefore, if the amygdala is responsible for emotions, the hippocampus is that part of the brain that is responsible for keeping the memories of emotion. And then if I have good emotions, positive emotions, then my hippocampus is going to save those emotions. Then what happens? The prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain that is responsible for regulating our behavior. If I am a compassionate person, if I save good emotions, positive emotions towards myself, towards the other, then the hippocampus will save them. Then the prefrontal cortex will be responsible for my behavior, will control my behavior, and my behavior will be towards the external society or the others will be very positive. However, what happens is the following. There is another brain structure, which you can see here in the brain also. It's called the supramarginal gyrus. This is another part of our brain that is responsible for our empathetic abilities. If this part of the brain does not function properly, then our personality will be more aggressive, less empathetic. The empathy level will be reduced dramatically, and we will appear as cold-hearted, non-empathetic individuals in our lives. Therefore, this is the link between this emotional side that we have and the physiological side that we have. So yes, empathy is a trait that we are all born with. However, this trait is regulated by our behaviors, and also the brain has this autocorrect ability. The supramarginal gyrus is able to detect the lack of empathy if a person has it, and has the ability to autocorrect it. However, if we're not enhanced, if we're not encouraged, if we don't live in a positive environment that would involve empathic behaviors, then this ability will degrade, will decline, and unfortunately we will grow up to be less of an empathetic as supposed to be. Why are we talking about empathy? I mean, what's the connection between empathy and education? Why is empathy important in our relationships? Because the problem nowadays is that we live in a world where people tend to be quite egocentric, egotistical, and this is also proven by science that it's innate in the human beings to be egocentric, to be quite selfish. So that's why the trend lately, specifically after the 1970s, particularly speaking after Carl Rogers, and I'm going to introduce a little bit who Carl Rogers is. He is an American clinical psychologist who talked about the importance of empathy. As a clinical psychologist, Dr. Rogers used empathy with his clients as a therapist. He said that I tested active listening, silent listening sometimes with my clients without any judgments, without any interference even with whatever they're sharing with me. This empathetic attitude made the clients feel more relieved, more relaxed, more positive, and it helped them recuperate and feel better and improve their mental health faster than those therapists who tend to preach and teach and advise probably. So if we were to take this theory that was practically done by Carl Rogers, and we can kind of transfer it onto any situation, into any environment that we are dealing with, be it a teacher-student, be it a husband-wife, be it a colleagues at work, whatever the environment might be, if we adopt this empathetic attitude toward the other, and it's not only in us being silent, it's in us being understanding of the other, caring for the other, helping the other find solutions, responding to their experiences, letting them feel that we feel what they're feeling, we're there for them if we can do anything. This attitude by itself proved through many study cases that it was very important, and it creates a sense of security, a sense of stability for people who suffered specifically from anxiety, from loneliness, from depression. So people who suffer mentally and psychologically, if they had a support system that is quite empathetic, then their mental health will improve, then their psychological health will improve. If we take this into the student-teacher relationship, then the classroom will be more positive, more relaxing for students, more thriving. Students would thrive more, would be involved more in the teaching process. To elaborate more on this process, Carl Rogers talks about like 3 intersectional circles in his theory and approach in clinical psychology. He mentioned the idea of empathy, which is by itself simply this, accurate, empathetic understanding. When you just don't feel only sorry for the person. No, you don't feel sorry. Actually, you truly understand them. You truly allow them to express their emotions and experiences from their own perspective. Whether you agree or disagree with people's perspectives, just let them be. Let them express their own experiences. This is the first circle that he believed is important in his therapeutic sessions, and it did contribute very, very positively to the client's improvement. Again, I tell you, if we just transfer this into student-teacher relationship, father-mother relationship, child-parent relationship, it can show the same effects, though we don't have great numbers in that, but definitely study cases have shown this. The second circle that he highlighted was that of congruence or genuineness, which is that you as a person, just like Carl Rogers as a therapist, used to be authentic, transparent. He did not need to be perfect. I mean, you don't have to have all the knowledge in the world as a friend, as a therapist, as a teacher, as a mother, as a father, whatever the role you're playing, you just accept who you are and be who you are and be that genuine a human being. Then this would show the other person in your life that you are a real being. You're not an alien. And if we take the situation of teacher-student, sometimes, unfortunately, students look at us, their professors or teachers, as aliens, as people who come from a different planet, as if we speak the different languages, if we have different, structure. However, if we tell them that we are like you, we're human beings, we make mistakes, we don't know at times, it's okay not to know, it's okay to show our vulnerabilities in our relationships. As for the third circle, it's this unconditional positive regard. What does that mean? It means you show acceptance. You show that you care. Acceptance means I don't judge you. I don't need to tell you that you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. What is right and wrong is based on your own experiences, on your own level of tolerance, on your own way of being raised up, on this mixture of different factors. Your environment, your biology, your genes, your neurostructure, everything contributes to whoever you are. So once I accept who you are and I care about making you feel better about yourself, then this process of empathy will be thriving, will be prospering, will be positive, and will create this connection, positive connection between me and the other in my life. If I'm a teacher, between me and my student. If I'm a mother, between me and my child. If I'm a partner, between me and my partner. So any questions so far? Am I going too fast? Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, so if we continue and talk about how can I foster empathy in action, we have very simple steps that we can take as teachers, as partners. As I told you, whatever the role that we're playing in our lives, this can be adapted to. First of all, by posing open-ended questions. Open-ended questions will allow the person to have this ability to share, to talk, as if you're giving them the space they need. So ask open-ended questions. However, the closed question, like questions like the yes-no questions, they don't give me enough space. So the first idea is invest in open-ended questions in your relationships. Also, practice active listening. If you are a teacher, for example, it's important to get closer, definitely keeping the physical distance between you and the student, and trying to listen to the student's needs, to the student's comments, to the student's feedback, maybe their criticisms. It's okay if our students do criticize us, if they have a different perspective than we do, if they don't like the approach that we're using. Why not let them be themselves and express without feeling threatened in the classroom environment. So when we create this space of listening and speaking, then I'm creating a safe space for everybody, and this safe space will be quite positive among people themselves, among students themselves. Then the interpersonal relationships will improve. Then students will open up to themselves and to their teachers again. If we're a family, then family will open up to each other more often than used to be. Once I feel that I'm listened to non-judgmentally, I'm accepted as I am, even if I have a different perspective than the other, then this will create a safe zone for me to be whoever I want to be. The fourth step that I want to highlight is that of validation. Whatever I say, I need people to tell me that it's okay to feel as such. It's okay to be as such. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be down, feeling up. All these emotions, and we know that emotions are like roller coasters all the time. They come up and down, and they're only fleeting. They never come to stay. They come as visitors. And I always tell them, even the worst visitor will not live with us. They will leave eventually. So let us welcome our emotions, validate our emotions and each other's emotions in order to create this safe space for us to thrive together. Now, as for, and also I want to mention here another idea, which is also talked about in the field of empathy and the science of empathy, which is the empathy gap. Does anybody know what the empathy gap stands for? What do you expect it to be? You can drop them in the chat box, or maybe open the mic and just share. Thank you, Dr. Or thank you, Mr. Daradu. The names are a bit strange for me. I'm trying to read them. Thank you, sir. So anybody who can guess what empathy gap is?
Hi there.
Hi.
My guess on the empathy gap is that that's the space where there's a lack of empathy, maybe. I'm not certain.
Okay, you believe there is a lack of empathy. Okay, that's very close to what it is. Thank you so much, Kamrian. Thank you for all the hearts you're sending me. Anybody else?
What I feel
Hello,
that
doctor.
empathy gap means when we fail to pursue someone's emotions and feelings, and we are working with our own intentions and our this. I think that is what means that empathy gap, if I'm not wrong. Thank you.
No, you're not wrong. There is no wrong and right. That's your understanding of the term. Thank you for trying. Thank you so much. How researchers define empathy gap? It is this, let me say, idea of me as an empathic person, how I see myself as an empath, and how others see me. For example, many people, they claim to be very empathetic. However, when you ask, for example, if I'm a mother, let's say I believe I'm a very empathetic mother, and then you come and ask my son, how is Khouloud doing? Is she really caring? Does she understand you? And they may say no, sometimes she doesn't. Then this is what we call the empathy gap. I believe that I am empathetic when actually the other does not believe that I am as empathetic as I claim to be. Therefore, it's very important for us to keep our empathy in check. It's important to always ask for feedback. So I don't need to convince myself that I am quite empathetic and I'm very proud of myself. Let me ask other people, do you really find me empathetic? Where can I do better? How can I help more? How can I understand more? Am I really responsive to whatever emotions, experiences, and thoughts you're experiencing? And here I'm talking again specifically about teacher, student, or parent, child, or partners, because we need this open communication in order to grow together, in order for the relationship to be quite successful. Even at work, we can do that. And there was a study that was done. I just need to remember the year. I think it was in 2013, where they worked in a company of engineers, and they studied the empathy gap, and they noticed that the managers of the company claimed to be empathetic when they were not actually. And once they were trained to be more empathetic than they used to be, then the numbers in the company increased. The title of the article, now I found it, it's called How to Defeat the Empathy Gap. And the 22% of the presentations improved, the engineers' presentations improved, 40% they had more hits on their blogs. So once they were more understanding of their employees' emotions, thoughts, experiences, the others, the employees, the engineers in this case, they became more productive. They became more engaged and involved in their own work. So if we take this and kind of transfer it into our homes, into our classrooms, then I'm sure that results would be quite rewarding. So how can I do this? How can I weave this empathy, this empathetic attitude in my teaching style, let me say? First of all, we can always start with those morning meetings where we can just start our day by talking about how we feel in the morning. How do you feel? Good morning. It's not enough for a teacher to come to class and say, good morning, everybody, open your book and let's start the lesson. Good morning. How do you feel today? Betkar, how do you feel today? Karti, how do you feel today? Tell me about yesterday. Was it a good day? We can have a couple of minutes with the students in the morning. These morning meetings would create a safe environment, would tell the student, would tell the partner, would tell whoever the person is in my life that I do care about their well-being in the first place. And then I can move to the next step of, making the logistics of our lives. So this is one thing. Another one is these restorative circles where you can sit together in a circle where people feel safe and they just share their evaluations, they share their opinions, they express their perspectives openly, non-threateningly. Also, it's very important to enhance those gratitude exercises. Allow your students to show how grateful they are. Let them tell you on regular basis what they're grateful for, what they would like you to improve as a professor, as a teacher, as a mother, as a brother, as a partner. So being open to what we have, the blessings that we have, and being also receptive of the lacks that we have, because as we said, we're all human beings. We tend to be egocentric innately. Therefore, we need to always keep our empathy in check and always regulating whenever it becomes low. And by the way, here, I would like to tell you one thing, that I'm not promoting blind empathy at all. I'm a mental health professional, and I know that empaths suffer sometimes as they enter toxic relationships, as they are exploited at many times. What I'm trying to say is that I am for empathy that is regulated, that is always kept in check, that is evaluating oneself versus the other. So I cannot be very empathetic with a person who's always exploitative in the relationship. That's a different story. That's a different perspective. That's a different case that we need to talk about. What I'm talking about here is dealing with those bunch of little kids that are in our hands, and we're trying to make them grow. So we need this unconditional empathy in this case. I think I have some questions or some comments. I don't know. Let me just have a look. Thank you, Cambria. Oh, empathy and narcissism. Okay, that's a good question. Let me tell you here something that studies have shown that narcissists, when we say narcissists, we're talking about NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. Sociopaths and psychopaths, they're not disorders. They're, tendencies in people where they of course, they show aggressive behavior towards society, towards others. Those people are very low, or they have no empathy. So as I told you before, since 1950s, researchers have started measurements of empathy. Narcissists, they scored low on empathy. If you go to the end of the spectrum, that means they go to psychopathy, then there is almost no empathy. That's why those people are exploitative, they're abusive, they are psychopaths, they might go into crimes, into exploiting others, into scamming others. So yes, those people are quite unempathetic, either low or no empathy, unfortunately. And this is the type of relationships that I was warning against, that empathy should be kept in check, should be regulated, I should mind my empathy, I should be really cautious. Who am I empathetic to? And if I am empathetic to a toxic person, then I need to stop this empathy or regulate this empathy in a manner that does not harm me and does not enhance the other's personality disorder or personality toxic behaviors. I've been exploited a lot as an impact. Oh, absolutely. This is what I was talking about. So that's why I always talk in my videos, as Dr. Betkar said, I'm a mental health professional, and I promote mental health awareness through making videos about narcissistic relationships, all these toxic relationships and personality disorders. And empaths are specifically one of my concern, because if they don't pay attention to how they channel their empathy, yes, they will end up in very toxic, exploitative relationships. Therefore, if you are an empath, be careful how to channel your empathy. So, but again, as I go back to the topic of my presentation, if I'm a teacher and I'm dealing with a 5-year-old kid, then that's a person who's really angelic. There's nothing to rotten or to ruin this child's personality yet. I'm there for this person. The more empathetic I am, the more I'm preparing him to be a better empath himself or herself in the future. And we as teachers, we as friends, we as whoever we are in a person's life, we do contribute to the shaping of the personality. And when we interfere early on in a person's life, then our effect is going to be big. That's why when we talk about raising a child up, it's not only the mother and the father, not at all. It's the teacher, it's the school, it's the friends, it's the media. And since we are being challenged on daily basis, and we're surrounded by so many unempathetic, let me say, platforms and challenges, our role as empathetic people in people's lives make a difference. Therefore, we should believe in our empathic powers. Okay, messed up. Oh, okay. I got your idea, Kabri. Yeah, these are toxic people. They know how to manipulate and, use people. My ex-grandmother is a nurse. She has her doctorate in education. Yeah, of course. It's really more dangerous when people are educated and they have a certain personality disorder. And the worst are those who study psychology, because they know how to manipulate more and they understand people's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. Therefore, they would be master manipulators. So stay safe. That's what I can say to you. Okay, so this is what I mean by the empathy gap, as I said. Now, I would like you, if you don't mind, to reflect for a moment about on yourselves and share, if you can, please, where do you lie on the spectrum of empathy? Number one, it shows that I'm very low on empathy. I am non-empathetic. And people who are low on empathy, they have their own reasons. They have their own issues. Probably they have their own experiences, and they deserve our empathy. And if they are aware that they are non-empathetic, then that's a good thing. That's a positive sign. The problem is that when people do not know that they do not have something. So this means that they are unaware, and that means they're not open to any type of help. The second is that when you offer condolences to others, that means you try to understand people's behaviors, you try to and emotions, but you're not that much involved in their process of emotions and experiences. If you are number three, that means you only validate emotions. What does that mean? It means you acknowledge the emotions, but maybe you do not offer solutions. You do not take further action in this respect. Number four, you are somebody who's quite good at listening, and you listen actively. That means you give your full attention to the person. You allow the other person to express themselves freely with no judgments. As for the highest level of empathy, it's the highly empathic person. This is a person who demonstrates the deep understanding of the situation, and who would tailor a certain response in order to support the other in whatever the manner at hand is. So I would like to hear from you, if you don't mind. I know it's quite sensitive to reflect on ourselves, to share what we are, but it's good to tell us how you feel about yourselves. Are you empathetic? If yes, do you select where you practice your empathy? Are you selective in your empathy, or you just distribute it everywhere? Wherever you are, then empathy is there. You shine with this understanding, with this compassion. Let me hear from you a little bit, if you don't mind. Anybody? Everything is a case by case basis. I do agree. Of course, each case is unique. There is no one size fits all approach. Absolutely, I do agree. And as I've just mentioned, that sometimes we are empathic in certain situations in our lives, when at others we are not, because we have to, because probably the certain function that we are doing does not allow us to be as such. It's understandable for me. Pulkuna, excellent session, ma'am. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating, giving your feedback. Thanks a million. Dr. Valamarti, also thank you so much, sir. Okay, I know that it might be really hard to measure our empathy. Maybe all I want to say at the end is that if you are a teacher, then do not think of empathy as a lesson plan. It is not a lesson plan. It is a skill that I build as a person, and it is a skill that I can help another person to build. How can I do that? By practicing and training myself to be more empathetic, by engaging and reflecting on certain human experiences, by reading, literature, by volunteering, by showing those children how they can be understanding of people's conundrums, of people's conflicts, to reflect and find solutions whenever there is a conflict. The problem is that we always care about teaching books instead of teaching a person and building a person or a good citizen for the international community. We think of our own numbers and schools and marks. Well, are you the first in class? Are you the 10th in class? We don't think that we are preparing a worldwide citizens who can impact the whole world in their touch. Look at us today. We are gathered from all over the world, and there is this platform that gathers everybody. Nowadays, we live in a very small village, all of us. Therefore, our effect is important. If we affect and influence people positively, then we are preparing positive people for the future. I might be too optimistic, but I believe such an approach is a necessity in a world of hardcore relationships, of exploitative relationships, of investing in rocks and buildings and structures rather than investing in the human being. So this is my say on empathy. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from my presentation. I can open the floor now for any questions, for any feedback, and then Dr. Betkar will wrap up the whole session.
Hi again.
Hello, Kabria. Thank you,
love
Govin.
and respect you so much for having this talk. I've learned so much. You've answered so many of my questions. So thank you. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Thank you for your interaction and for giving all this feedback. Dr. Mamta, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Govind. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, of course, the great and big thank you is to Dr. Betkar for this invitation. Doctor, I hope this invitation was fruitful. Thank you for all the efforts you're making for gathering all those people from all over the world. It's a beautiful step. It shows how empathetic you are as a person yourself, that you care about others. You want the world to be maybe a better space for us to share and to share knowledge, information, and probably our own expertise. So thank you again, Dr. Betkar. Thank you. Thank you. Last comment. Thank you so much. Suraya, thank you so much. Okay, I won't keep you longer. So I thank you again for joining this presentation. I wish you have a wonderful time and hope to see you again in another session with other topics from different people all over the world. Thank you again and have a sweet evening.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Ma'am, I have one question, please.
Sure, go ahead.
May I?
Of course, go ahead.
Yes. Ma'am, I just would like to know more about empathetic listening.
Yes, empathetic listening, it is when you listen to the person in front of you. Supposedly, this is your child, or this is your student, or this is your partner. It is when you listen to understand, not to answer. The problem with our listening, it's not listening. What we do in life is that we hear sounds and we just listen to answer instead of listening to understand. Empathetic listening is when you just silently listen to the person, trying to understand the perspective of the person by putting yourself in the shoes of the other person. And then when you do understand, then you respond. What we do, the mistake, if you want, that we do commit in our lives is that let's imagine with me a husband and a wife and they're fighting about something. They never listen to each other empathetically. They listen to answer, they listen to attack. So that's not empathetic listening. This is merely hearing sounds, trying to find a word, pick a word to just attack the other person or to prove myself right or wrong, or to prove the other wrong. Empathetic listening, there is no right, no wrong. There is somebody listening to the other non-judgmentally, trying to understand. And once I understand, then I will help the other find a solution. If I were the problem, then I should help this person find the solution to the problem. Okay?
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for your
Ma'am,
knowledge.
Yes.
wonderful presentation you had today, and really, you have touched the subject, and definitely empathy with the teachers and the student, is very important. The empathy should be there with the teacher, and empathy should be there with the students also. So I think that gap of the communication, it can be narrowed with the help of empathy. What I feel. Definitely, but my one of the very important question, whether empathy is inborn, it is a genetic, or it is something means it develops naturally, or it develops with the influence of the environment and the family members and the education systems. That also matters. So whether it is external or internal empathy is there, that is my question. Because I had seen one movie where you'll find the two twins were there, and one of the twin, he lost in one of the fair, and after some time, that person went to some wrong people, and then he become very rigid, and the other person was very empathetic, and he was a social worker. So like that, whether the empathy is something, or we are having another example of Mother Teresa. She was so caring, and she has taken care of the whole world. So in what way, we can see whether empathy is inborn, or it is something influence of the external forces. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. It's a very good question. Actually, there are different schools and approaches to answering this question. However, what researchers let me say, there are many variables here. However, I can say that all factors do contribute. It's a natural biological trait that we have. However, the environment we live in does contribute. And the example that you've just mentioned of the twins, who were probably genetically are similar, but the way they were raised up, one was quite empathetic, a social worker, the other was a criminal. Then this is what one theory says, that we are born good, but we're spoiled and structured by society. It means by the methods we were raised up with. So yes, definitely environment contributes, our relationships and the way we are raised by the caregivers, be it the parents, be it we're in the foster house, wherever we are, those do contribute, and our genetics also contribute. The genes are part of our empathy, but whether we foster them, we improve them, we enhance them or not, that's another factor that is the responsibility of the other on our lives. That's why I was talking about the important role of teachers, because if it were only inborn, then why would I tackle this issue in the first place? If this is the percentage or the measurement of empathy that you have, and I cannot enhance it, then there is no need to interfere. But no, we do. We can make it grow. And not only this, even our brain knows that we are low on empathy and tries to, motivate us by, for example, when you watch a movie and you cry, then your brain is responding to this human ability that you have. All you have to do is enhance it, foster it, live in an environment that would really make this empathy grow and grow and grow. Absolutely. So it's all the factors together, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I think the person with the empathy is a better human being, and I think that should be the message, and we should grow with the empathy. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Okay. So I think that would be at the end of the presentation, Dr. Betkar.
I just wanted to ask one quick question, and that is, so I understand what you're saying as far as narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths, and it's on a scale, and narcissists, it sounds like you're saying, could learn to have more empathy. They're more trainable, but when it comes to psychopathy and sociopathy, that seems like it's a different structuring of the brain. Is that true?
Brain and personality, not only the brain, it's the personality as well, the structure of the personality. Narcissists, again, it's on a spectrum. So if you're low on narcissism, then there is a certain behavior that narcissists imitate by structure. The structure of the narcissist, they do mirror people. So there were many studies that mentioned this fact of training the narcissist to be empathic by showing empathy, as people who adopt people's behaviors because they don't have their own identity as clear as necessarily should be, then they would imitate the behavior. So by embracing their disorder, by trying to be empathetic and showing them that I'm there for you, I'm supportive, this might instigate their empathy. However, numbers are low, unfortunately, because narcissism as a disorder is quite non-resilient. So those people, they're very egotistical, egocentric, and they have this, gap between who they really are and who they pretend to be. So it's a difficult journey, but I do encourage people who know how to manage a narcissist, as this is one of the most toxic relationships. I want let people do it if they're not ready for it and they know how to manage it, because they will lose themselves in this journey. I'm not calling for anybody to be a martyr here. I want you to foster empathy, but as I said, let empathy be, first of all, reflected positively on your life, and then let it shine to the other. Do not do it blindly, because this might destroy you in the process, especially when you're dealing with toxic people or dangerous people. Okay, so here we have a lot of documents.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Wonderful and quite beneficial presentation on your. Two small questions are there. One is that is the compassion word is substitute for the empathy, and the another question is there any special efforts are taken in the criminal psychology regarding empathy?
Okay, I heard the second question, but the first one I didn't. So the second question, is there research on criminology?
Yeah.
Absolutely. In criminal, absolutely. There's a lot of research on this. For example, there's a doctor called Pincus, I remember his name, and there's another one called Ryan. And there are other doctors who really collaborated together, and they studied murderers' minds, and they noticed that those people, when they studied the prefrontal cortex, as I mentioned in the neuroscience of empathy, they noticed that the cells, the brain cells in the prefrontal cortex, which is important important to in regulating the emotions and in reflecting, if you want, the empathy that should be coming from the amygdala to the hippocampus to the prefrontal cortex. They noticed in their scans of the brains that they did that those people, unfortunately, they have many gaps in their prefrontal cortex that's not functioning appropriately. So that's why they were unempathetic and unresponsive to the to the people who were murdered by them. For example, if you take a serial killer, definitely he was many times begged by the victim to spare their lives, to have mercy on them. However, they couldn't empathize with them. Why? Because there's this brain damage that affected them. In addition, of course, to the other factors of being raised in a bad way, or being neglected as children, or they were abused themselves. So this might have also contributed. But the brain does, yes, function, and there are studies that have mentioned this in criminology specifically. That's a very good question.
Thank you, ma'am. I think that when the intentional efforts are taken in such areas, crime rate may be reduced or diluted from the world.
Absolutely. If we foster empathy, that's why I believe also there were many movements in the world. I believe Dalai Lama, Tutu, Archbishop Tutu, and many others. They mentioned, they talked about educating the heart, compassion and the power of compassion, which I believe is quite important, because it does contribute and it does make the crime rate decline if we just invest in it, if we believe in it. The problem is that people do not understand empathy. They think that it's only feeling sorry for others, it's sympathy. No, empathy is a whole plan. It's a whole effort that you need to make in order to make the improvement or the difference that you want to see in the world. It's not something that quite easy.
Thank you, ma'am. The entire philosophy of Lord Buddha is also on the basis of empathy here.
Yes.
Philosophy of Lord Buddha. Philosophy of Lord Buddha. Philosophy of Lord
Philosophy
Buddha.
of love. Yeah, of course.
Based on the empathy. Yeah.
Based on empathy, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you,
Wonderful
sir. Thank
session,
you.
ma'am. Wonderful session.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for staying with us and for asking all these questions and giving the feedback. Thank you, sir. Okay, anything else? Yes, sir. That's absolutely. Thank you, sir. I'm thankful to you, to everyone who attended this conference. Thank you so much. I hope it was as beneficial as you mentioned, Dr. Bidkar. I would love to be with you time and again. So thank you. Bless you all. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.